Hi, welcome to Donegal Dad. I'm Mark. Hello to all my new subscribers out there, and if you're new, please subscribe and hit the bell icon for notifications. Today we're going to be looking at installing some lights on the layout. Here's the lights I'm going to use today. So we've got some lights to go onto the platform, some lights for the street scene, and some floodlights to put into the car park. I got these off Wish and they came with no instructions to tell me what voltage they were or what colours the positive and negative are. So to test that and find out what voltage they are, simply get some pencil batteries. So these are AA batteries, 1.5 volts. Okay. Take the wires. Start off with one battery first. Just to see if they light up. Nope. So then we go on to the second battery. And there we can see it started lighting up. So we can say these are 3-volt LEDs are in there. And it also tells me that the black is the positive and the white is the negative, which are important to know when you're dealing with LEDs because they only work with the current flowing in one direction. So I'll do that on the rest, find out the voltage and which is the positive and negative. I've tested all the lights, they're all 3 volts. I know which colours correspond to the positive and negative. This is just a little battery holder that's out of electronic set. It's quite handy for testing, so I can have 1.5 volt, 3 volts or 4.5 volts. If you're testing, don't use one of the square type batteries. These are 9 volts. So if you have 3-volt LEDs, you'll blow them straight away and they'll be no good to you. For the power supply to run these lights on the layout, I'm going to use an old Hornby power supply, which is 12 volts. So I'll need to reduce the voltage and current, so I'm going to be using some resistors to wire into the circuits. Now I'll wire the resistors onto the positive leads and then connect them to a bus wire underneath. So let's get on and do that. So I'm going to put the street lights in here. I put down a bit of masking tape because I'm drilling through some plaster here. The masking tape will hold it together and hopefully stop it from cracking. So here we go. So you want to take a slow speed to initially get through the plaster, putting just slight pressure on it. Now we're through. And we'll repeat it over here. There we are. Holes drilled. Hopefully we'll take this off and it won't have cracked. There we go. Now it's just a matter of threading it through. There's the lamps. They're all glued in place now, using some clothes pegs just to hold them in place where the glue sets. So we'll leave that to dry and then we'll come back and do the wiring. Here we are, we have the baseboard now on its side so I can do the wiring. Here I've got a short piece of wire that I'm using as a bus wire. So now I need to solder the light wires onto this. I also need to make sure I put a resistor onto the positive feeds to reduce the voltage and current so it doesn't blow the LEDs. So to do this I'm going to solder it all together. Now with LEDs you need to make sure you put a resistor on per LED, because if you try and use one resistor on different LEDs, they're not all made equal and you'll find that they won't work properly or at all. Now let's solder the resistor onto the positive wire. So first thing we do is we get a little bit of flux just to coat the resistor wire and the other wire. And then we're going to tin them. So a bit of solder on your soldering iron. Just rub it over the wire and rub it over the resistor wire. And we just want a little bit more solder. Hold the two of them together and just dab. Let it dry. It'll cool down and it hardens, and there we go. Let's now attach the resistor. Let's solder the resistor now onto the bus wire. So we're going to strip the bus wire to expose some bare wire using our strippers. And we can take our resistor and just wrap it around there, nice and tight, so it has a good connection. Then we're going to solder it into place. So a bit of flux onto the joint. Flux is great because it just helps the solder flow and gives you a better joint. So a bit of solder onto the soldering iron and just a quick dab, and that's it. And we've got a joint. Now what I've done before I've done this joint is I slipped a piece of heat shrink over it, so I can just run that up and then rub the soldering iron up along it, shrink it into place so it insulates the wire and the resistor. I'll just carry on and do the same for the rest of the connections and for the negative onto the negative buzz wire. There we go, all the joints are now soldered in. I had to extend this cable. Now we're just going to fix the wires and tidy it up. I use a staple gun just to hold the wires in place. Careful not to put a staple through a wire. And you can see that'll just hold the wires in place. Then for this sort of wire here, get a cable tie, staple that to the board, and then use that to secure the wires. So it stops everything moving around if you're transporting the board. And then I'm just going to get a bit of tape and just put it over these solder joints just to insulate them and secure them. There's the cable work all tidied up now. I've put blue tape around the connections to insulate them and also around the cable. Likewise with my other electrical bus wires. I've written it down here so I know the blue tape is the 12-volt supply. So it's easier when you're underneath it and you're wiring and you're trying to trace the routing, it makes it easier. It's not too bad on a small layout like this, but if you have a more complicated layout with more wiring, it just helps. I was able to get away with using one resistor for the floodlights because their two LEDs are the same. So there's one resistor on those, every other LED has its own resistor. So we'll flip it on its side and see how it looks with the lights on. There's the layout the right side up, and we can see the lights are working. We've got our street lamps, our spotlights in the car park, and our lights on the platform. So we'll leave it there for today. Hope you found that useful. So please don't forget to like, subscribe and share. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.